Emotional detox. What do I mean by emotional detox? Well, if you've ever seen someone go through chemical detox, or maybe you've gone through it yourself, you know that it's a nasty process. It's miserable for not only the person going through the detox, but also for everyone else around them. The other side of that is what happens after detox. That you find that you're able to live the life you've always wanted to live. You're able to be that person you always knew you could be. But those things that were stored deep inside, the chemicals that were stuffed way down, were wreaking havoc on your body, and you had to go through this nasty process to be able to bring those things back out so that you could get to that place of being healthy and whole again. So what does that have to do with marriage? Well, consider the fact that we have emotional toxins as well. We go through our entire lives storing up these experiences and memories, and some of them are good and some of them are not so good. Either way, they all get stored deep into our brains, and they impact the way we respond to life and relationships. So if not properly addressed, all the experiences that were not so great in our lives tend to create toxins, emotional toxins, in our minds that produce negative results. So if you're looking at your spouse and you're saying, what the heck happened to the person I married? You may be experiencing something we're calling emotional detox. And I want to share with you 5 things that are crucial to understanding about this phase of life and about this life process that will help you get through to the other side. First of all, what you see is never what you get. So think about when you first fell in love, or when you were trying to woo the other person into marrying you. What did you do? You put your best foot forward. You offered your best self, and those parts of you that you didn't really like so much, you stuffed way down. For most of us, we do that because we're afraid we're not lovable, or at least those parts of us are not lovable. Therefore, we don't want to put that forward when we're trying to get somebody to love us. Many times, we convince ourselves that just having this other person in our lives makes those parts of us that we don't like just simply fade away. And all those memories that have not been dealt with are pretty much irrelevant now because I found someone that completes me or someone that makes me whole. Now, I don't say these things to cause mistrust in your spouse or in your fiance. These things are not necessarily a purposeful act of deception. It's just overly optimistic. And it's why it's really important to get good marriage counseling or premarital counseling, to have someone help you sort through some of this stuff and ask you the hard questions that need to be asked. Emotional toxins can really create blind spots in the way we perceive ourselves and our ability to handle relationships. So just remember, point number 1, what you see is never what you get. The second point I want to tell you about is that you will eventually get what you didn't see. And if you're watching this video right now and you've said to yourself, what happened to the person I married? Then you know exactly what I'm talking about. All those things that were stuffed way down eventually come back up. Why do they do that? Well, in marriage, we tend to bring out the best as well as the worst in each other. All the little differences that you overlooked for a period of time when you thought, I can just get past these things, I've found the one, it doesn't matter, those start to grate on you after a while. And those things that are different about each other, they tend to rub up against each other and create some friction. And this is not a bad thing. It's actually a very powerful and helpful thing if you view it within the context of emotional detox. Now, marriage is a perfect lab for emotional detox. Like I mentioned, you cause these things to rise up in each other. And then one day, something comes out. You might even experience an emotional relapse where a response to a certain situation seems to make no sense whatsoever, and you're going, where did that come from? And even your spouse or your fiance is going, where did that come from? I thought I stuffed that down a long time ago, or I thought I got rid of that. So there's some frustration, there's some shame, sometimes there's even disgust in one another when these toxins start to rise to the surface. Which brings me to point number 3. Detox is a normal and necessary part of every relationship, particularly marriages where there's long-term commitment. This is a time when you really need each other the most. Can you imagine if somebody was going through chemical detox and the doctors were working with this person, or the therapist or whoever they went in to see for this, and they're going through the parts where they've prepped them for what's going to happen. They've administered the things, either the therapeutic interventions, the certain drugs they have to use, whatever they do in the detox process to help get that stuff out. Right when things got really nasty, what happens if the doctors and the therapists say, "Ooh, this is too much for me, I didn't sign up for this," and they walk out of the room? That's disastrous, and that person will not get the service that they signed up for. So when things really start to feel like, this is nasty, I don't want to be here for this, consider to yourself that this may be when the other person needs you most. I like to think that there's a reason in most of our marriage vows that we end up saying, for better or for worse. Now, we typically assume that most of our marriage is going to be for better. In fact, some of us think that for worse is not likely to ever happen. Those of us who've been married for more than a year have started to see that that's not necessarily true. Things do happen, and you start to ask yourself, am I really going to hang in there? Is this really what I signed up for? Well, I believe that someone in their great wisdom stuck those things in the marriage vows a long, long time ago because they knew that the for worse part, usually it was what makes the for better parts of marriage. And I know that sounds backwards, and if you're in the situation right now, you're saying, that's absurd. I'm not going to fall for that. I'm not going to endure this any longer. But the reality is, if you talk to people who've been married for decades, and they're happily married, they seem to have this power pack of love between each other, and you ask them, what made your marriage so great? They will tell you that it was hard times that they went through, and that they never gave up on each other. And this may be something you're experiencing right now. This emotional detox where this stuff is coming out and you guys don't really understand where it's coming from, you don't like what it looks like, and maybe you don't know what to do about it. I can tell you that walking away and giving up right now is likely to cause more pain than you ever imagined. So point number 1, we said what you see is never what you get. Point number 2, you will eventually get what you did see. Point number 3, detox is a normal and necessary part of marriage. It's a part of relationships. And point number 4 is, don't give up. The vision you had for your relationship does not have to fade away when the realities of life set in. In fact, it's this realities of life that actually help you to bind together, to be stronger, to actually live toward the visions of the ideal marriage that you thought you would have. It takes a little bit more work and a little bit more time than we ever anticipated. This is actually going to require more love and more patience than you ever imagined when you said, I do. So finally, what I want to tell you is that help is available. Throughout this video, you've heard me say things like, if properly addressed, and you may need help, and blind spots. Well, these are things that creep up in every relationship. In fact, there's a good chance that if one of you is producing emotional toxins or processing emotional toxins, both of you are. And you're both kind of in this disoriented state of, I really can't stand you right now. You really can't stand me right now. Neither one of us are really sure what's going on, but both of us know we don't like it and we don't want to be in this anymore. Well, I encourage you to seek the help of someone you can trust. To successfully navigate this phase of your relationship, you will need someone who can guide you through effective communication. Someone who can offer you the structure and the safety and the objective insight that you need to really see this for what it is. Someone who can give you tools for moving one step forward each and every day. You will need the help of a therapist, a counselor, a pastor, or a life coach who specializes in conflict, and particularly couples conflict, to really help you get where you need to go in your relationship. You may know someone that can help you with these situations. Here at the Conflict Resolution Center, we have coaches who receive referrals from pastors, therapists, judges, attorneys who see people going through these phases of their life, and they trust us to care for them and help guide them to the place they really want their relationship to be. If you'd like more information on this, I encourage you to click on www.conflictresolutioncenter.org. What you're going to see is a box for a free consultation. You can click on that and we'll give you some feedback about where you're at. You'll also see a link for a free ebook that we can email to you, And it goes over everything I just described in a little bit more detail. And stay tuned, because in the works is a more in-depth book, a workbook that's actually going to walk you through step by step how to handle this phase of life. So make sure and check it out. If you want to reach out to us, email us, use our contact form on the website. Again, that's www.conflictresolutioncenter.org. We will get back to you and give you some feedback about where you're at and how we can help you get where you'd like to go. If you found this video helpful, please pass this on to somebody who may be able to use this information. I promise you they will thank you. Now go make the best of the life you have and the relationships you've been given.